Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to my channel. Today is a part 2 of episode 1 of my Trisha Paytas series. If you have not seen the very first episode of this series, please try to watch it before you get into this video because there's a lot from that episode that will tie in today's video. So I will link that in the description box down below. I want to thank everyone for all the love on this video and all the new subscribers. I really appreciate it. Before I explain what we're talking about in today's video, if YouTube monetizes today's video, I will be donating a good chunk of the ad revenue to the charity that's listed in the description box down below. I'm just trying to turn a negative into a positive with this video, which is why I feel so strongly about this. And if you want more details about that, it'll be listed in the description box down below. Also, as I stated in my previous video, I will be using all of Trisha's preferred pronouns throughout this entire series, which is she, her, and they, them. Trisha has specifically said to the public they are fine with all pronouns, including he, him. And if you're interested in where they said that, I will link the video and the timestamp in the description box down below. So in my last video, I think a majority of you agree that there is something that just isn't right with the stories that Trisha has been telling in relation to their school and their teachers. Today we're going to get deeper into that because Trisha actually named a teacher from their school and urged their followers to look up an arrest that does not exist anywhere. We will also be talking about the copyright claim that Trisha put on my first video because the specific timestamps that Trisha claimed are very interesting in relation to the discrepancies that we talked about in the first video. We will also be discussing some other lies that Trisha has told the public on other serious topics because I think it's really important to show you guys that Trisha has no limits to the lies that they are telling the public. If they can lie about all these important things that most people wouldn't lie about, then they can also lie about essay experiences with their teachers. This is another long video, but please try to watch it all the way through and look through all the evidence before jumping to any conclusions in the comments below. I do want to make one thing crystal clear. I believe Trisha has trauma, and I believe they went through something horrible when they were only 17 years old, and they didn't have anyone to turn to because it was happening in their own home. There is also a traumatizing experience that Trisha also went through in her early adulthood after she moved out to California that was also stated in her book that I did not talk about in the first episode, but I believe that to be 100% true as well. I believe that book is a very honest version of Trisha, and I really do have empathy for what they went through. It's just the more recent stuff that I can't wrap my head around, and after the first episode of my series, I think most of you do agree. But there's a lot more to get into regarding all that, and just FYI, we do not talk about the teacher till later on in the video, so there are chapters marked at the bottom if you do want to skip around. It's just really important for me to show you the full picture before we get into the allegations against Mr. Riney. So let's get started. As some of you may know, Trisha recently started a podcast that is called My Chemical Imbalance, and on September 1st, Trisha uploaded an episode and said something very interesting. The clip you are getting ready to watch backs up a lot of what we talked about in episode 1. For the past few months, Trisha has been telling everyone that they were never bullied in school, and that the main problem was that they were overly sexualized by teachers and classmates. Well, Trisha actually told the truth recently and talked about being bullied in school. Check it out.
It was when I was like about 12. Oh no, I was like 13, 14. I was doing a school play. I bounced around schools a lot. I was doing a school play, and I got picked on all the time for being fat when I was actually quite mid-size. There were really fat kids in our class and grade that were really slow. They were definitely people who just didn't keep themselves up, and that is the stereotypes of like didn't bathe, didn't shave, wouldn't wash their gym clothes, would be the last person in line. I wasn't that. I mean, I was kind of uncoordinated in gym class, and I always kept myself up. I liked having nice things and stuff like that. So, but still, I was the one that got made fun of for being fat. People would always say, Trisha has more rolls than a bakery. I just remember that one. And like a couple other ones just like making fun of me in a swimsuit when I wasn't. You can find pictures of Trisha High School. I was just not fat. I was not thin. There was thin ass girls, but I was not thin, but I wasn't fat. I cheerleaded, I golfed, I was the one that took 2 gym classes a day because I was trying to avoid math. So I wasn't, but I did. I felt fat, and people made fun of me all the time for being fat when there was people much fatter than me that they never picked on. I still don't grasp it. Like, I really wish I could grasp this part of bully culture because it's like, because I know the cliche thing, my mom would tell me, they're just jealous, all this stuff. And maybe there is some, and ultimately I don't think maybe they're jealous of like my looks or who I am or whatever back then, but maybe they're, because I was fearless, I would wear crazy shit in my hair, maybe they're jealous, or they just thought it was weird, so they want to pick them. I'm not fucking sure, but That has followed me my whole life.
This is the problem with Trisha. They are telling so many lies to the public that they can't keep their lies straight. Trisha's stories will either change each time they lie, or once in a while we will see Trisha from the older YouTube videos, and they will actually be honest with the public. This clip we just watched backs up the book, and it backs up the older YouTube videos, and in my personal opinion, that means Trisha was lying when they went on and on about never being bullied, and they tried to spin it into they were constantly being sexualized by teachers and classmates. So just to see what she said before, to refresh your memory and to show you some new footage that I didn't show in episode 1, let's take a look at a clip real quick to compare things.
Honestly, I love when people call me girls. Do you see this? This is how I go out in public. I really don't like attention when I don't want attention. When I go out in public, I don't want attention. I don't want guys to look at my body. I don't want guys to look at my breasts, because no matter what I wear, I am sexualized. I've been sexualized from 6 years old. From 6. From being called out for being a distraction by teachers, to being molested by my neighbors, by people in power, people in authority, because my body has always just developed quicker. I was sent home from school multiple times for not wearing a bra from the ages of 6 to 8. 6 to 8, you're in freaking kindergarten at 6. Like, what? They don't even make bras for those size girls. And middle school, I was the only girl not allowed to wear a 2-piece when we do our 2-week swim class courses because of my boobs. I was told to put on shorts over my swimsuit because you could see hair through my swimsuit at like 11. And I changed 4 high schools. I changed 4 high schools because I wasn't bullied. I wasn't like a nerd or people weren't mean to me, but it was constantly that.
So what do you guys think? Does Trisha talking about bully in the present time change your perspective on the situation if you were leaning towards believing what she said over the past few months? Also, I want to comment on one thing that was said in the clip that we just watched. Do you guys actually believe that Trisha got sent home from school from the ages of 6 to 8 for not wearing a bra? Some of this stuff is just common sense. First off, it's very rare for a child at that age to even have a chest. And also, what parent is going to come to school in the middle of the day to pick up their kid and take them home because the school said little 6-year-old Trisha couldn't come back until she put a bra on? You guys, as a parent, I would lose my shit on the school because the first time would be the last time that was said about my kid. Trisha said this happened over a span of 2 years. It's just not a realistic story from so many angles. That's the thing with Trisha. They tell some pretty unbelievable stories that are clear-cut lies. But anyways, I just thought it was interesting that Trisha in the present time actually confirmed that they were bullied in school, even though over the past few months Trisha has been trying to spin a new version of her life. So now let's talk about the copyright claim that was put on my first video. So most of you know that Trisha claimed my first video, which is a really shitty thing to do because if I didn't fight the claim, then they get all my ad revenue. But the interesting thing about this is the specific timestamps that Trisha claimed. And I believe Trisha claimed these clips because they're trying to erase what was said in the past about their teachers. In my mind, if you have nothing to hide and you're being honest in the present time, why are you trying to discredit your book? And why are you trying to erase the fact that you said nothing illegal happened with your teachers? So as you guys can see, there are 3 claims on this video, and the clips that Trisha picked were so specific. I had so many clips in the first episode. In fact, if you look at the description of my video, there is a list of all the videos that I pulled clips from to use in the first episode. I don't think what was chosen was picked randomly because all the clips are found in the beginning, the middle, and the end of the episode. So if you don't know much about YouTube copyright claims, one thing you can do to get your ad revenue back immediately is to edit out the timestamps that were claimed. And the 3 that Trisha chose would completely discredit my video if I chose to erase them. So the one at the bottom here, if you watch the first video, is the clip of Trisha talking about the car crash that she had in 2005. But we're going to skip over that one for now because it isn't as important as the other 2. The second one here is about Trisha's book. And this clip is where Trisha said that they were nothing but honest in this book. I'm going to play part of this clip just so you guys can see which clip I'm talking about. And if Trisha claims this video, then Trisha, you're taking money from charity, so I would hope you wouldn't do that. But let's just go ahead and do it and see what happens. Here's the clip.
I mean, I am nothing but honest in this book. And when I went to go write this book, I wanted nothing but honest, which is very hard for me.
This entire clip backs up how genuine the book is, and erasing this clip would discredit so much about the first episode because I focus so much on quotes from her book, and Trisha knows that. Now the next clip I want to look at is the puberty Q&A that Trisha claimed. Do you see the specific timestamp that is selected right here? What's interesting about this clip is that they were even more specific with the timestamp, because in my video this clip actually starts at 32 minutes and 12 seconds. So there's about 40 seconds of this clip that Trisha cut off. I'm not going to play the clip that Trisha didn't claim just to save time, but if you don't believe me, you're more than welcome to go to the first video and start at 32 minutes and 12 seconds to see the full clip. But my question is, why not claim the whole clip if this was all random? Now, I think it's because that specific timestamp that Trisha chose was to erase the fact that Trisha said in the past that nothing illegal happened with their teachers. And here is that clip.
It wasn't until my freshman year of English gym that I had a wrestling coach. He was our gym teacher and English teacher. He was so hot. He was premature gray. He was so freaking hot. Oh, I loved him. And I loved, like, I would always be like, I don't know, like, where do I put the heart? We had heart rate monitors. Like, where do I put the heart? Like, I was like the little means. Like, again, no teachers ever did anything appropriate with me. Nothing like that. Like, I don't want to even, like, go there. My biology teacher my sophomore year was, like, my ultimate crush. Like, I just got so turned on by him, like, so much. Like, I literally, like, got wet in the panties in class over him. He was so hot. And then my college teachers, I was just like teachers, and I liked authority figures, and I liked people who had control and who were educated and old.
This specific clip here, when I seen it for the first time, I just immediately thought there's no way they are lying in this clip, because Trisha literally lights up with joy talking about these teachers. And if you compare it to the clip that we watched in the first episode when Trish talked about her mom's boyfriend Tiger, just the tone in Trisha's voice, I felt how hard it was for her to talk about it. I wanted to show you guys the specific timestamps that Trisha claimed, because I just think it shows that Trisha is trying to hide this, and hopefully once we get into talking about Mr. Rainey, you will fully understand where I'm coming from. So I know some of you are still having a hard time with questioning Trisha on the things that happen with their teachers. Trust me, I completely understand why. It's hard to question someone that is coming out as a victim. If you want me to be completely honest, I 100% believe Trisha when they talked about the water bottle incident on Frenemies, because I had no reason not to believe her until I realized how much they actually lied and how much the stories didn't line up. Here's the thing with Trisha. They are seriously a pathological liar. They lie about things that are really small, and they lie about things that should never be lied about. Trisha has no limits to the lies that they tell the public. The bigger the lie, the more attention Trisha gets. Trisha actually posted something on her Instagram that I found really interesting, and I want to read it to you guys. The post said, "Emotional abandonment in childhood leads to insatiable hunger for attention in adulthood. It can feel like your need for attention is never satisfied, no matter how much you are actually receiving." Now, this post was actually in the last week or so, and it actually describes Trisha so well. In Trisha's childhood, they would lie and make up stories as a shield for bullying and to get attention and acceptance from their classmates. The stories and lies were harmless when Trisha was younger, but the more attention Trisha got, the more Trisha would push boundaries to satisfy the hunger for attention. But Trisha is still not satisfied even today, because Trisha keeps making up stories or lying about serious things, which leads into some of the stuff I want to show you guys in this segment. One thing I want to point out before we get started is shortly after Trisha posted this, they ended up deleting it, which is very interesting to me as well. So let's talk about some clear-cut lies from Trisha so that you guys can see that they have no limits or boundaries to the things that they will lie about. I want to show you a clip that will lead into a recent lie that was revealed about Trisha. In a recent podcast episode that was uploaded on August 17th, Trisha was talking about their transgender video and their DID scandal. Check it out.
The first DID video and the transgender video, I was being really vulnerable. And to me, those were two things that are, why would someone want to fake it? That's the worst kind of attention you could have on you, because not only is that a stigma that whoever you date, I was single at the time, whoever you date, some people don't want to date transgender, female to male, and a lot of people don't want to date, especially if they're older and or you want a relationship with kids with them, someone who's mentally ill, because it could be passed down to your children. So those are two things that I wouldn't fake. You know, okay, I could fake being a Trump supporter, give me that attention 124. I could fake being a Republican or something. You know, I can fake Andy Kaufman bits. Men are better, they're superior than women. I can do all that. And then even that I stopped, obviously, because they just weren't good looks. But like, to say I'm transgender, like, how does that help me at the time date? To say I have multiple personalities inside of me, not fully understanding, like.
You're right, Trisha. A normal person wouldn't lie about these kind of things or fake these kind of things. And right now, you guys, I'm just going to focus on the mental health aspect of what Trisha specifically said. Now, they specifically said in so many words that they would never fake or lie about their mental health. So if Trisha truly stands by this statement and faking a mental health diagnosis is off limits to them, then my question is, you guys, then why on earth did Trisha recently get caught for lying about their schizophrenia diagnosis? I'll tell you guys why. And that's because in reality, Trisha has no limits to the lies that they will feed the public. The bigger the lie, the more attention. And I truly believe the mental health lies is a way to excuse their shitty behavior. So before I show you guys how Trisha got caught in this lie, I want to show you what has been specifically said about this diagnosis from Trisha herself. Check it out.
And that's what scares me. And as I get older, like voices in my head and stuff really scared me. I had a therapist a couple months ago diagnose me with paranoid schizophrenia, which is really scary.
I do have like problems. Like I'm a little like schizo and I'm a little borderline. So I have like problems, but I'm medicated for it.
What kind of medication you on?
There's this one called Calyptor. It's for schizophrenia. So it's like I don't hear voices or see things anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
So without that, you actually do have schizophrenia?
Yeah. So I got diagnosed this year with it, but like I honestly think it's something that like got developed. Like I really do, because I never heard voices up until like 32. I also was recently diagnosed twice as schizophrenic this year, 2021. I'm on medication for it. Closely monitoring it for the first 6 to 8 weeks. I didn't feel a change other than not myself, and that was scary. But
so Trisha specifically said they were diagnosed twice. To get a diagnosis on any medical condition, you have to have testing to determine whether or not you have it or don't have it. Schizophrenia is not something that is easily diagnosed. From what I've seen online, there isn't just one test that determines you have schizophrenia. It's a very time-consuming process, which includes personality test, ink blot test, a full psych evaluation, full medical exam, blood test, just to name a few. So this isn't just something you show up at the doctor for it and they run one test and a week later they tell you have schizophrenia. So the fact that Trisha specifically says they were diagnosed twice in a very short time span makes it pretty unbelievable. And it's unbelievable because this whole thing is a lie. On August 19th, 2021, Trisha went live with Dr. Drew, and Dr. Drew flat out said that Trisha didn't have schizophrenia, and Trisha did not even challenge him when he said it. Check it out.
I understand you had a schizophrenia diagnosis at one time. That is not what you have. But I could see how if you were having these kinds of symptoms, somebody might think that.
well, they put me on medication for schizophrenia. I don't know like if I have it, but that's what I'm on right now. And it's like this new. It's like I don't know. If
No.
It's like a
You're having borderline. You should know this about borderline syndrome. But borderline, the name borderline was originally invented by psychoanalysts. It was like during the 50s or maybe before that. To what was borderline was they were considering these patients borderline psychotic, and so they were people that were having psychotic symptoms but were not schizophrenic. You understand? And so the psychotic symptoms can be helped with the antipsychotics. It's just part of the borderline process.
That's so
Make sense?
interesting, because I went, because my therapist can't give me medication, so I went to a psychiatrist, and it was just 2 or 3 meetings, and they were like, "Oh, you should be on this medication," and so it's helped with it. But so it's psychosis is part of borderline, because I thought it was 2 different like disorders. I thought there was like a psychotic disorder and a mental disorder.
No, it was originally called borderline psychotic. That was the original term. And because there can be prominent psychotic symptoms, but they don't progress, they don't go anywhere. They're just, part of what, they can come and go, much like you're experiencing it. I'm wondering if maybe all your drug use didn't suppress that.
You would think Trisha would challenge Dr. Drew on this if they had 2 psychiatrists diagnose them with this disorder. But all they said is the doctor put her on the medication and followed that up with, "I don't know if I have it." Trish, what do you mean you don't know if you have it? You specifically said that you were diagnosed twice. I wouldn't be surprised if Trisha isn't even on the medication that they claim to be on. I've seen commercials for this medication they claim to take. It's just interesting that it's a very well-known med that's on TV. But anyways, Trish ended up explaining herself on a podcast episode that was uploaded on August 24th, 2021. And this is what Trish had to say. Roll the clip.
So on that note, let's talk about me being misdiagnosed. Okay. I don't know if I've been misdiagnosed because I'm on medication that treats schizophrenia. So for me, I'm like, I'm a schizophrenic. He's like, you're not a schizophrenic. And I should have asked him to delve deeper because he goes, sometimes hallucinations go with borderline, and borderline, this is something else that I was totally misinformed. Borderline was originally borderline psychosis disorder or psychotic disorder. We changed it to borderline personality disorder. I don't know, to make people feel better, or just be like, you just have a personality disorder. You're not psychotic disorder, which is like, I thought that was me. But because I was referred twice to get this medication for schizophrenia, I was just like, well, I'm schizophrenic. Like, I'm hearing voices. I'm schizophrenic. Check. I am in fact not. And a lot of people have been saying that. So like, kudos to you for being an online therapist and knowing that before me. I honestly was just like, I'm schizophrenic. It's like, that's what it is.
So did you guys notice something significant between the Dr. Drew video and the clip we just watched? I will give you a hint. Look at these two screenshots. The one on the left is from the Dr. Drew video, and the one on the right is from Trisha's podcast. What looks the same? Y'all, she is in the exact same outfit, has the exact same hair and makeup, which means she filmed the podcast episode the exact same day as the live stream with Dr. Drew. Yes, Trisha uploaded this like 4 days after the Dr. Drew live, but it's pretty clear that she filmed it right after the live stream. So wouldn't you think if Trisha was diagnosed twice, she would follow up with her actual doctor and ask them questions about their diagnosis before filming a video telling the internet that they did not have schizophrenia? Also, wouldn't you think that Trisha would trust her own doctors more than a celebrity doctor that does this for entertainment? I know that's what I would personally do if I got diagnosed twice with a disorder like schizophrenia. But the reason Trisha did not do that, you guys, is because Trisha knows it's a fucking lie. When I saw this, you guys, I was pissed off because it's not cool to use mental health as a weapon on the internet. It's not cool to self-diagnose and exploit the illness to get attention and money. People actually have to live with mental disorders like this and go through serious shit like therapy and different medications just so they can hopefully live a normal life. It's not something that should be lied about and used as a shield to make people feel sorry for them and guilty to stop criticism. Remember Trisha's quote, "If I make people feel guilty, I get things awesome." Straight from Trisha's book, this wasn't just a silly statement that Trisha thought in her childhood. It was a life lesson that Trisha learned from her own mother. And life lessons are something you hold on to in your adulthood. A good example of Trish using this fake schizophrenia diagnosis as a shield was when the BuzzFeed reporter was doing an article on Gabby Hanna. She posted an email she sent to the journalist trying to guilt her into not mentioning Trisha's name in the article she wrote about Gabby. Right here in the email, she specifically says, "I just wanted to email you this morning and ask that if my story is published, please omit anything about Gabby Hanna. While you believe her to be a troll, she really affected my mental health back in January when I did her podcast, when she tried to convince me things happened, when they absolutely did not." And then she put in parentheses, "triggered many schizophrenic episodes for me after. Trauma dumped on me, and then recently started harassing me into thinking she's going to expose me. I want zero association with her or her name ever again. She needs serious help, and platforming her on any level is not something I want anything to do with." You know what happened when Trisha put all of this out? Their fans attacked this journalist because she ended up mentioning Trisha in the article. This is a great example of how dangerous things can get with the lies that Trisha tells. It causes a lot of hurt to a lot of innocent people. In fact, the journalist touched on this in a recent article about Trisha, and she said the following: "Paytas didn't even want their name to be mentioned anywhere near Hannah's, an impossible request. A lot of Hannah's online fame at this point is tied up with her fights with Paytas. Paytas tweeted crap portions of our emails that made it seem like I had agreed to keep them entirely out of the article, which I had not. For weeks, Paytas's most staunch supporters have been sending me doxing threats, suggestions I kill myself, demands that I be fired, racist jabs about my name and appearance, and suggestions that I could be sued for. My Instagram DMs, Twitter replies, and email inboxes are still filled with them. Despite Paytas's fury over being associated with Hannah in any capacity, they did recently go on Tana Mojo's podcast, Canceled, and once again publicly discuss Hannah and their ongoing feud." Trisha is a public figure. She can't dictate what gets written about her. When I seen all of this going down, I was in shock over the amount of people that were agreeing with Trisha and thinking it was okay to go harass this journalist. Side note, I don't care if you think BuzzFeed is a trashy outlet. Nobody deserves a hate mob sent their way, especially for just doing their job. It was in fact impossible to write about Gabby Hanna without mentioning Trisha Paytas, and I'm sorry, Trisha did that to herself because she uploaded so many videos and TikToks about Gabby Hanna over the past couple years, and she still talks about Gabby Hanna every chance she gets, even though she acts like it's so bad for her mental health if anybody else mentions Trisha in reference to Gabby. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. And while we're on the subject of Gabby, let's not forget that Trisha put out so many tweets mentioning schizophrenic episodes because Gabby was tweeting in response to a Frenemies episode where Trisha and Ethan talked about Gabby. This was way before Gabby's series was even posted. Trisha had her own fans afraid for her safety because Trisha was saying that she needed to go get help, even though Trisha was fine enough to leak voice memos and post all these tweets and upload a full YouTube video titled Gabby Please Stop, where she went on and on about how Gabby was triggering their schizophrenia. Oh, and by the way, you guys, these videos have been completely scrubbed from Trisha's channel, which is why the thumbnail images are so bad. I wonder why these videos are deleted. This is what Trisha does. They lie about their mental health and trauma to get attention and to make people feel sorry for them. It's just so messed up to me, you guys. Another thing that I found interesting about this whole situation with the schizophrenia was in a video that was uploaded a few weeks ago, she started talking about how her childhood trauma was triggering schizophrenic episodes. Check it out.
When I started therapy in 2019, like for real, it was about my breakup. It was about everything happening in the now, which is like what I needed. I needed to do that for like a year. I got diagnosed with borderline, so I went to group therapy, talk therapy, and then getting diagnosed in 2021 and being on medication for schizophrenia. I really had a lot of other things to focus on, but I went through some childhood trauma therapy, talking about trauma I had when I was 6 that I've honestly blacked out. And that was a lot. I think that might have triggered some schizophrenic episodes. I'm not an expert, but I think it did, because it didn't feel like my life. Just like schizophrenia doesn't feel like my life. I don't feel like a schizophrenic. I don't think anyone believes it. I don't even believe it. But they were real, and my hallucinations, and I needed help for it.
This was just interesting to me, and I wanted to play it for you guys because the schizophrenia has been a lie, so I highly doubt she was actually talking about any childhood trauma in therapy. Oh, and this clip that we just watched was after the first episode of the series was posted. Trisha did this in a lot of YouTube videos after I uploaded the first episode. It was like she was trying to discredit herself, so just kind of keep that in mind too. One other thing I want to show you guys before we move on to the next slide. There was actually a recent contradiction from Trisha about the hallucinations that she was experiencing, and I want to show you guys real quick. Trisha went on a podcast called Trash Tuesday, and Trisha was specifically asked if she experienced smell hallucinations. Check out what she said.
Can I ask you about schizophrenia?
Yeah.
What are
I want to ask
to what degree do you have like auditory hallucinations?
Both.
Is that,
I have auditory and visual. Yeah.
do you have smell?
No.
Then fast forward to a recent podcast episode of My Chemical Imbalance. Trisha contradicts herself and says this.
And so I've been sober since December 18th, and then he was like, "That your drug use could have been suppressing voices," which is weird because it could also bring on voices from what I've read and stuff like that. So he's like, it could. So when you got sober is when like kind of these auditory and visual hallucinations, and sometimes even like my smelling and touch hallucinations, like they're very real.
So yeah, on the Trash Tuesday podcast, Trish was specifically asked if they had smell hallucinations, and Trish said no. But fast forward a month later, all of a sudden they magically have them. Shocker, another lie from Trisha. That's the thing with Trisha. She will lie about the lies that she is telling because Trisha can't keep up with it all. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the voices and hallucinations were part of the lie as well, because a TikTok account recently found a clip of Trisha talking about about how she would lie when she was younger about hearing and seeing things just so that she could hopefully get diagnosed with schizophrenia. Check it out.
Especially when you're a kid, because I would just lie and make up stories every week to like counteract what I told them the week before, and they would like literally be like, and that's probably why they diagnosed me with schizophrenia, because I literally was like telling them one week, like literally, yeah, probably I lied a lot in therapy.
You guys, I literally just can't. Like, Trisha puts so much stuff on the internet that contradicts herself, and she leaves it up, and it's like she forgets about this stuff. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. By the way, this TikTok account is really good at showing contradictions from Trisha. I highly suggest you check it out on TikTok if you have it. I will link it in the description box down below if you're interested. But anyways, you guys, there's so much I could go into about this schizophrenia stuff, but I think that is enough to show you guys to prove the points that I'm trying to make. Trisha has no limits to the lies that she tells the public, and the lies just keep getting bigger and bigger. There is a couple more lies I want to show you guys before we move on to the next segment. Back in Trisha's older YouTube videos and Trisha's book, one thing that Trisha said that really stood out to me was that they would never lie about their family. Check out this clip.
I think my dad thought I was making stuff up, and even my mom. I don't know if anyone believed me, but stuff would go missing. But again, it's kind of like the boy who cried wolf. If you make stuff up, but I never did about my family. I think when it comes to family, real life, human relationships and emotions, I would lie more about stuff of like, oh, my dad's a producer, or I was an extra in a movie when I was 5 in Home Alone, or something like that kind of stupid shit. It was never stuff that could like affect someone's life, especially with my stepmom, my dad, my mom, all this stuff.
So fast forward 5 years later, Trisha lied about her own father and stepmom. In the wrestling video that Trisha posted 4 months ago, they claimed that their stepmom forced Trisha's father to stop hugging Trisha because her chest was too big at the age of 8 years old. Check it out.
My own father was told by my stepmother from like at age 8 to not hug me because she thought it was inappropriate to feel my boobs. So I've never hugged my father since. Imagine not getting to hug your father because he's worried that other people think that you're like being sexual with your own daughter. My father, a Catholic going church guy that's never done like a bad thing in his life, and I was like, are you freaking kidding?
Like, really fucking weird, right? What stepmom is going to forbid someone's father from hugging their own child? It doesn't make any sense, but I will prove this lie in just a second. But Trisha even blasted her own father and stepmom on a Frenemies episode the week after she uploaded the wrestling video. This episode of Frenemies has 4.7 million views, and this is what Trisha said. Check it out.
Like, even today, like, just anything. Well, not just you, but like anyone like is scared to touch me. Like, my dad didn't want to hug me because my stepmom's like, she has boobs, that's inappropriate. And I was like, why? Like, it's the
happening.
thing about like being a girl at like 9 years old, you have big boobs, and your dad won't hug you because your stepmom's like, that's inappropriate because she has boobs.
That's you know your family being fucked
so
up.
it's different. It's totally different. Like, with you and whoever, you don't want to hug me, don't hug me. I'm not a huggy person anyways, but it's just like, it's just.
So first off, it's just weird for Trisha to spread around this type of information about her own father to millions of people. I get that she hates her stepmom, but this makes Trisha's father look bad as well. Here's why I think it's a lie. First off, in Trisha's book on page 4, she talks about how good her father was about not introducing them to a bunch of different women. And this was taking place around the age of 10. She specifically said in a span of 7 years from the ages of 3 to 10 that their father only introduced them to 2 different women. And the girlfriend that Trisha's father had when they were around the age of 10, Trisha actually liked her. So based on Trisha's book, I don't think her father was dating his current wife when Trisha was 8 years old. So if they weren't even dating, how can she tell Frank that he isn't allowed to hug his own daughter? Like, it makes no sense. Trisha's dad didn't marry his current wife until Trisha was in the 8th grade, which would make Trisha around 13 or 14 years old when they got married. And until that marriage, things were so laid back with Trisha's father. He did anything that Trisha could ask for. It wasn't until that marriage that things started to change a little bit for Trisha. And when I say change, I mean like normal rules that most parents discipline their kids with. But to take it one step even further, there's a quote from Trisha's book that I showed in episode 1 about the court hearing where Trisha had to testify against her own father. As you can see at the end of the quote, it says, "He hugged me and said everything was okay." So right there is proof that he hugged her since she was 8 years old. Do you actually think that Trisha would respect not being able to hug her own father? I don't. It just is a ridiculous lie. But the point in showing this to you guys is to show you that Trisha has no limits on the lies that they tell today. They will lie about anything to prove a point that they're trying to make, even their own family. And that is just so messed up to me. All right, you guys, I got one more lie to show you before we get into the real serious stuff. So Trisha's new podcast is really revealing a lot of lies and contradictions about Trisha. And they recently revealed another lie that was in the wrestling video from 4 months ago. Yes, we're going back to the wrestling video one more time. So there was a part in the wrestling video where Trisha said that they were gaining weight on purpose to turn men off from them. And this is what they said. Check it out.
Because I thought at this point, I'm like, people are done sexualizing me because so many people call me gross and stuff like that. It's like, I really truly feel in my heart and sabotaging my weight loss and stuff my entire life, like never wanting to lose weight. Like I talked to therapists about it, I've been all this stuff, is I truly feel I don't want any more attention on my body. I like having extra weight because it turns off a lot of men, and that's the truth of it. Like the only way the motivation stopped when I was a kid was when I started gaining weight. And I remember I went away for the summer with my dad, and I came back to school, and that same person, my abuser, was like, you got too fat. And I was 10. And I just kept gaining weight because I thought it would turn men off from me. And I still feel that way because as much as I've capitalized and made money and profited off my sexuality, and I own it because when I'm in control of it, I love it. And I think it's a beautiful, powerful thing. But when I'm not in control of it, it really makes me feel some type of way. And I think that's what started my gender identity issues, because I never looked at myself as sexual. I never wanted big boobs when I was a kid.
So according to Trisha, in this clip, they sabotaged any weight loss as a kid. They actually gained weight to stop from being SA'd. And even today, in the present time, they gain weight because they don't want the attention. And if you watched episode 1 of this series, you know that some of the stuff that Trisha's saying in this clip is already a lie. But in a very recent podcast episode, Trisha actually elaborated more on this, and they said the complete opposite of what they said 3 months ago. Check it out.
When I was a child, like I wanted to be anorexic. Like I wish I could just stop eating. Like I wanted to look skin and bone. I still want to be that weight loss story that people congratulate me for losing weight, whether that's healthy or not. And I'm telling you right now, I am not healthy. I will always think thin is more attractive than fat. And this is coming from someone who's been fat my entire life. And that sucks because there is some self-hatred there. When I'm being 100% honest with myself, I want to be skinny at all costs. And that's why I say I wish I could just not eat. If someone were to ask me, like right now, you could be 120 pounds if you shave, but you're going to lose 15 years of your life, I'd be like, put me on 120. Give me that 120 scale read. And that's so fucked up. It's so fucked up because I want kids and I'm willing to risk 15 years without my future children because I want to be thin. And if I'm being honest, like I want to be thin for that wow factor. I always thought, what's the one thing I can do that keeps shocking people? I've already done this, this, and this. What can I do? You know what would really shock people? I come back with a 100-pound weight loss. Whoa, she did it. So I lost 30 pounds in high school and I did it 5 days a week. I would drink Just Slim Fast. This was also doing my 2 gym classes. I would drink Just Slim Fast during the week, and then Friday night my mom would come home from her shift. She'd bring back a Taco Bell, and this was my splurge. And so I wouldn't eat all week. I would literally I'd have 2 Slim Fasts a day. I'd have one in the morning, one at night. That was it. It was for some fucking play I was doing. I think it was called Swing Fever or something at fucking Pecatonica High School. And it worked. Oh my God. And my teachers were like, oh my God, like you're losing so much weight. And it felt fucking phenomenal. Like I felt so cool. I was like, it was everything. I was like, hell yeah.
Just so many lies and contradictions, you guys. I actually think this podcast episode Trisha posted recently was pretty honest between the weight loss. And this is actually the episode where they talked about the bullying that we watched earlier in the video. So the point of showing you guys these lies again is to show if Trisha can lie about all of these important things that normal people wouldn't normally lie about, then Trish can also lie about SA experiences with their teachers. And I question them because there are so many contradictions between the actual stories she has been telling and what they have stated in the past. Before we get deep into that, I want to play a clip from a YouTuber named Brittany Simon. She talked about Trisha's SA stories and she put it into perfect words that I completely agree with. Check it out.
The people who got upset with me for saying, I don't believe Trisha Paytas' sexual assault stories. Now, this is specific. It's not that I don't believe all of them. I just don't believe most of them. And I believe Trisha is a liar based off of what we know her to be, which means if she can lie about all of these very important things, I don't know why you wouldn't make the logical leap that she would also lie about her sexual assault stories, especially when she throws down celebrity names and then doesn't go into detail because it's too intense. No offense, as a sexual assault victim myself, like I personally have the belief system that we need to be very aware that people will use this for clout, and also that sexual assault victims aren't being heard and they are being ignored. Two realities can exist at once. These tiny life contradictions do exist at one time, guys. Just because, okay, you don't want to fall into the number 2 bubble of thinking, oh, all people who claim sexual assault are always telling the truth, and all people who claim sexual assault are lying. Like, these are too black and white. Like, how do you not know that both of these can exist at once? Maybe you've never experienced it, but I have. I've had to go to court for it. Like, I completely understand what it's like to face somebody who's just blatantly lying about something. It is very devastating. So here's the thing, though. Trisha exists in a bubble where people allow her to do this.
I just thought Brittany explained this so well. I wanted to include it in this segment. So now let's get into the timeline of Trisha coming out with their essay experiences with their teachers, which will lead into the allegations against the teacher that was never arrested. On October 22nd, 2020, Frenemies number 7 was uploaded. This episode was shortly after all the stuff with Moses came out. The pictures of the bruises on Moses's arm were public, and Trisha was getting backlash for laying her hands on Moses. The next episode, we will be talking about Moses and Jason, so I'm not going to focus on that right this second. But what I found interesting about this episode is Dr. Drew was talking to Trisha about what happened with her and Moses and asked Trisha if she is in therapy for it. Trisha proceeds to tell Dr. Drew that she is in therapy, and Dr. Drew says, well, you know, this kind of behavior is a sign of severe childhood trauma, and asks her if she's talking through that in therapy. And I want you guys to listen to what her response is. Check it out.
Working now on it, and it's like a thing that's like super sensitive because I've never gone that far, you know, and I've gotten help for the past year because I had 2 mental hospital stays where I was put on a 5150. So like I go into these like
Fugues. These states.
Yeah, like it's like a blackout where I'm like not that person.
Yes.
And like that was the first time that happened. So now that that's out there on the internet, like everyone thinks that's just me, that I just like abuse people, and it's like it's never been that far.
Right. So let's be clear. It's very much the same thing. Those blackouts or whiteout or red outs that people get when they hurt themselves and other people.
Yeah.
And it needs to be treated, and you're treating it. I mean, that's the thing. Now, it's also a sign of like really heavy duty childhood trauma. So are you getting that treated too?
Not so much yet. I mean, because I had my blackout moments where I woke up and I was like, I didn't want to do that.
No,
like,
I understand.
I don't know.
I get it.
So,
and so that's
I don't want to do that. I don't want to hurt anyone, even in my relationship now. I am trying to like sabotage it to not make it last because I don't want to be harmful to anybody, and I'm dangerous to myself. I'm dangerous to other people, and it's bad,
okay,
you know?
So stop.
So if you go on to watch this for 5 more minutes, Dr. Drew then asks Trisha if Moses is going to therapy with her so that they can both work through their emotions of what happened when Trisha hit him. And Trisha then completely contradicts herself from what she said 5 minutes earlier. Check it out.
Yeah, he's here, by the way.
Okay, but Trisha, do you guys do anything together therapeutically?
We have it, and it's more just because I do talk a lot about like childhood trauma that I don't talk about with anybody, not on my YouTube. So I kind of just don't want him to know everything, like because a lot of my parents, like both my parents don't really know all of it. So it's just like something I don't want him to know right now.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
So why would you say specifically you don't talk about childhood trauma in therapy, then 5 minutes later say you talk a lot about childhood trauma? It doesn't make any sense, you guys. In my personal opinion, I believe Trisha saw this as an opportunity to tell stories about their childhood that would make people feel guilty about being mad about Trisha hitting Moses. Because it was shortly after this podcast episode that Trisha started telling the internet these stories about their teachers. And after doing more digging after the first episode, the first time Trisha brought this up was actually on TikTok. I thought it was Frenemies, but I did a lot more digging, and I'm pretty sure this was the first time that she talked about it. Now, just a disclaimer, Trisha has thousands of videos between TikTok and YouTube, so it is possible that I missed something, but I have done a ton of research, and this is the first worst thing I can seriously find. Plus, Trish said in the Dr. Drew episode that she had never talked about it online before, so I'm 95% sure this was the first time that they brought it up. And we'll get deeper into this TikTok once we start talking about Mr. Riney. Now, one other thing that Trisha specifically said in the Dr. Drew episode was that her parents didn't know a lot about this trauma, which is why Moses doesn't go to therapy with her. So one thing I want to point out right now is if Trisha's parents truly didn't know about any of this trauma, why would you talk about it online versus telling your family first so they don't find out from a YouTube video? That's an absolutely awful way for your parents to find out. It doesn't make any sense. I know you guys will probably say, well, maybe she told her parents before uploading the videos. And I would normally agree with you on that if Trisha's mom didn't specifically state in the BuzzFeed article that was released about Trisha recently that she was finding out about a lot of this stuff through Trisha's YouTube videos. And this is what was said in the article. Yet throughout all their controversies and challenges, Paytas has seemingly shared more with their audience than their own family. Lena told me she actually learned a lot about Paytas' life from watching their YouTube videos. Even now, Linus and Paytas have yet to have a conversation about their history of addiction or their mental health. Quote, I don't know, maybe we should be more open, end quote, Paytas said, holding their mom's hand. Quote, she had hid a lot from me until later, Lena said, and then I knew, and I'm like, that would have broken my heart if I had known some of the stories, end quote. It's just all so strange. Trisha seems close with their family, and in the Dr. Drew episode, she seemed like she was trying to protect them, but instead of working through it in therapy and maybe having your family in therapy with you and talking through it that way, you tell all these stories publicly and have your own parents find out through YouTube videos. It's just all so weird to me. So now that you know the timeline of when Trisha started talking about this publicly, let's get into the allegations of Mr. Riney. One important thing you guys need to understand is how much the Mr. Riney story has changed over the past 6 months each time Trisha has talked about it. The first time Trisha talked about this teacher was in a TikTok that was uploaded on December 4th, 2020. They do not name the teacher in this TikTok, but the details are extremely important when comparing it to the other times that she talked about this incident. I'm going to read each slide of this TikTok. She starts off by saying, 6th grade teacher known to be mean to everyone takes a liking to me and gives me the nickname.com. She then goes on to say, we start playing games in class that requires heads down to not cheat, and he stands behind me the whole time and rubs himself on me. And then she goes on to say, eventually starts putting hands up and down and inside me, and the students report this. She then continues by saying, principal punishes me by switching my classes and telling me I'm no longer allowed to show my arms or legs, and that they need to be covered at all times. She then goes on to say, teacher finds me and gives me kisses on the lips to apologize. And then the next one says, takes pics of me naked in his classroom and told me he'd even send them to Playboy even though I was 12. And then it finishes by saying he gets arrested for having CP on his computer at work. One thing I want to point out before we move on to the next video is that in the comment section of this TikTok, and there's thousands of comments on this TikTok, you guys, there were 2 separate comments that were left by 2 separate people on 2 different days. And the one on the left, it says, somehow this same story is on Reddit and has been for a couple years from a different person. That's suspicious. That's weird. And then the one on the right, which was posted the day before the other person, they said, okay, but 3 years ago, I saw the story on Reddit and it wasn't from Trisha. Now, I tried to find this Reddit post, but it's honestly looking for like a needle in a haystack. So this is just speculation that she pulled this story from Reddit, but given all the other evidence that's in this video, I wouldn't doubt that she pulled details from someone else's story. What I've noticed with Trisha when she lies or makes up stories, she bases the lies off other people's stories or she pulls it from like TV shows or movies. That's what she would do when she was young, when she would make up stories. She would base it off of something that she had seen and she would spin it into a lie to tell her classmates.
By a lot of you guys also confessing your lies. I remembered another one of my lies, and it was in the 5th grade, and I said I had a twin and her name was Trixie, and she lived with my dad in California, and that Trixie was really skinny and pretty, and that she was currently on a Disney Channel show under a different name. And at the time there was a show called So Weird, so I was like, I was explaining the character of Fiona on the show, if you guys remember Fee, and but like without saying too much. And where I was from in Illinois, like people just, they didn't really know about anything. But yeah, it was Trixie, and it was like the Parent Trap in my head. So Trixie went with my dad and I went with my mom, and I had that lie for a long time. And I don't know if I ever got called that on it, but maybe that's a good liar.
Sorry guys, we're going to take a small detour here, but I want to play 2 other clips for you guys that really stuck out to me. The clip we just watched is just one of the many times that Trisha would base her lies off of TV shows or something that they had seen. Well, recently Trisha has been talking a lot about how they don't even know who they are and they don't know their own identity, and that they use pop culture to base their life on. It's just really interesting because I personally think a lot of Trisha's stories and experiences that aren't actually hers, especially the recent trauma, is based off of stuff that she has seen online or on TV or in magazines. This isn't her 100% admitting that her stories aren't true, but I just found these clips really interesting, especially because people did comment on that post that it was someone else's story off of Reddit. So check out these clips and you'll see what I'm talking about.
I'm so influenced by pop culture because I have no identity of my own. This is the true thing. I never had an identity growing up. I have an identity disorder. So I think I don't know who I am. So I become other things and other people. Probably why I cosplay and dress up as other people, because that's who I learned from, is movies and TV. I really don't know who I am as a person, so it's sad and exciting at the same time.
I remember watching these videos, and again, I've explained this where it's like, it's not like I watched it and I was like, it's like Britney Spears. I didn't watch Britney Spears like I want to marry her. I didn't want to be like her friend, and that's how I feel with like Jarway. She was like, I watched him and I just wanted to be him, and I wanted to be something, you know. I wanted, in high school, I wasn't anything. I don't know my identity. I still don't know my identity, and that's the scariest thing, to not know who you are or what you like. I just know I find comfort in things. I know I see things on TV and I want to be that, and I like model my life after that, and I find things to imitate my life because I don't know what I like. So like, we're watching Darcy and Stacy. This is a show on Discovery, and it's about these 2 twin sisters who've dated a lot of foreign men, and now they're each married to foreign men, and they have this like these thick Eastern European accents, and like it reminds me a lot of me and Moses. Like the girls remind me of me, and the guys on the show remind me of Moses in like this weird way. It's like, if you watch the show, you might be like, no, not so whatever. But like, I watch it, and I'm like, okay, this is my life, but it's not. But I'm modeling it that because I don't know the structure that my life is supposed to be without seeing something on TV. And like, I love being in Moses's culture because it gives me some sort of identity. Like, whether he identifies as Israeli, Jewish, like maybe not, but that's why I like learning about his water philosophy too. I just like to learn what his identity is, right? What he grew up with, because I just don't have that. My identity is pop culture. Anyways,
Trisha growing up didn't find her life interesting, which is why they made up so many stories, because they always wanted something more. I seriously think a lot of Trisha's lies are always based on something that Trisha sees. But like I said, I just found this really interesting, so let's get back to the stories about Mr. Riney. Then on January 19th, 2021, the second time Trisha mentions this publicly was on Frenemies, and this is the episode where it was all about Hair by Jay, Shane Dawson, and Jeffree Star. Now in this episode, Trisha specifically calls out Mr. Riney by name, and this is the first time that she actually names him publicly. Please keep in mind that this podcast has 4.1 million views on it, and here's the clip.
I remember I was going to class with like this teacher that was like forcing himself on me and stuff, and I was just like, how does no one believe me? The principal, like nobody. It was like really weird, and so I think from that, like,
did that guy eventually did anyone eventually believe you?
Not funny, but like my 6th grade teacher, yeah, I talked about it on TikTok. The one that used to ask me would play like heads down, and he'd come around and like grab my breast and like put his hands on me.
Ew.
He did get arrested. His name was Mr.
Because
Riney.
of you or because of other incidents?
So someone else came forward. I never did.
Gross.
But he had child on his computer at the school.
Oh my God. Nobody
Mr.
believed
Riney,
you?
Byron Middle School, and I did say something originally, and like no one believed me. It happened again my 8th grade year. No one believed me, and I was just like,
Bruh.
But that guy did. He did get arrested, and I don't know where he is now, but he did. Yeah.
Now, the major differences I spot between just these 2 clips is that in the TikTok, she said multiple students reported this and that the principal made Trisha switch classes. But in this Frenemies episode, Trisha said nobody believed her at all and that she was the one that went to the principal. Now, Trisha did talk about this a 3rd time, and it was on March 2nd, 2021 on an episode of Frenemies. Now, Trisha did not name Mr. Riney by name, but she told the same story, and here's the clip of that.
It's crazy. I had an incident happen in middle school where a teacher like groped my boobs all the time when we would do like heads down 7-Up. And so when I finally went to the principal about it, he told the principal, well, she's been wearing water bras, so she's been asking for it. Like it's been teasing me. And the principal's like, have you been wearing water bras? I'm like, yeah.
Say what? And the principal was like receptive to that
Yeah,
argument?
and he's like, have you been wearing water bras? I'm like, yeah. He goes, okay, well, let's not wear water bras to school. And like, that was my fault because I wore a water bra. I mean, there's been more like that.
Dude, this world is so fucking crazy. What is a water bra?
A water bra was my mom's. It was a bra that, it was like water
You fill it
filled.
with water?
No, it already had the water in the bra. It was very heavy.
Oh, and you were wearing those at what age?
Like 12. Because I had uneven boobs. So I was trying to even my boobs out for real. And
he said
he would come feel it all the time because we play that game like heads down, 7-Up, whatever, and you have to like put your head down, or when you were done with the test, but whatever. And so he'd come around and like always like grope and whatever. And so he did get arrested. This guy actually did get arrested, but later on. But me, they were like, well, she wears a water bra.
So here she claims once again that she was the one that went to the principal, not other students. But she claims here that the teacher actually admitted to doing this to her in front of the principal, and the principal told Trisha that she wasn't allowed to wear water bras at school. Now, she didn't say anything that the principal made her switch classes or anything like that we've seen in the very first TikTok. Do you see how all these little discrepancies keep coming with each video that we watch? Then the fourth time she mentions the same story is on TikTok on March 19th, 2021. This time, Trisha encourages her followers to search the teacher and look up his arrest. This TikTok has almost 1 million views on it, and this is what she said. Roll the clip.
I've always been vocal on social media because I was silenced. Not to give like a silly reference in this, but I was silenced for so long at my school growing up. I had 3 different incidences with 3 different teachers in regards to SA, R word, and M word. It happened in the school, and one principal didn't believe me. 2, I was too scared to speak up. And 3, the teacher said I was like asking for it. So it was like looked over. The one that I was too scared to speak up on, someone else spoke up years later and he ended up getting arrested. Byron, Illinois. Look it up. His name is Mr. Riney for looking up CP at school.
So now she is claiming in this TikTok that she never spoke up about what this teacher was doing. Do you guys see all the discrepancies with this story? But here is where things get really weird. So Trisha specifically says that this teacher has been arrested. It seems legit, right? Surely if Trisha is encouraging their audience to look this up, it would pop right up when you search it. That isn't the case at all. In fact, when you Google exactly what Trisha says, this teacher does pop up under the top results, but it isn't because he was arrested. It was because he passed away in 2019, and his obituary pops up when you Google what she says. And just a side note, I will be blurring out Mr. Riney's picture in this video, but I have to refer to him by his name because that is what Trisha made public. I'm going to try to respect Mr. Riney's privacy as much as possible in this video while showing you what I have to in order to prove his innocence. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you exactly what pops up when you search exactly what Trisha says. As you can see in this screenshot, I typed it exactly the way Trisha worded it. Byron, Illinois, Mr. Riney, and that was it. So the top results are a couple different things. This obituary is about the teacher that Trisha is talking about, and we will get to that in just a second. But do you see the article that is at the very top here? Look at the headline. Middle school teacher pleads guilty to CP charges. This is another reason I showed you guys all the clips first, because Trisha specifically says in several of the clips that this was her middle school teacher and that it was in the 6th grade. This headline is about a middle school teacher that was arrested for the exact same thing Trisha claims. So when you click on the article, I'm expecting it to be about Mr. Riney, of course, and that's not the case at all. First of all, when you click on the article, it's behind a paywall, so you can't read the article unless you subscribe to the website. And luckily, I paid the $1 fee so I could show you guys this article. The only 2 things you guys really need to focus on in this article is the name of the teacher and the school. The name of the teacher is John Byron Schulich, which isn't Mr. Riney, and the school is Bull Run Middle School, and that middle school is located in Virginia. So I just find it funny that this is the top search that is behind a paywall, so you can't really read what what it says unless you pay for it. And the headline of the article before you click on it is exactly what Trisha claims. Now that is just a pretty big coincidence to me. Now all the other articles that pop up around this search, every single one of them is from different schools and different teachers, but the other articles around this search aren't as specific to what Trisha claims like this particular article that I just showed you. And if you don't believe me, I encourage you to look it up for yourself. There is nothing surrounding any essay with students with any teachers from Byron Middle School or Byron High School that I could find on the internet, and I have searched high and low for anything related to this. The only thing that I could find was a lawsuit that was filed in 2019 against the high school because of a coach that was allowing hazing. Outside of that, I couldn't find nothing. If you choose to look into this further, just keep this one thing in mind. If you come across an article that is titled Byron Center High School, that is not the same as Byron High School. Byron Center High School is located in Michigan, and Byron High School and Byron Middle School is located in Illinois, which is where Trisha is from. Now let's move on to Mr. Riney. Based on everything that I have researched on Mr. Riney, he was a very well-respected person and teacher. Byron, Illinois is a very small town, and before we go any further, I have confirmation that Mr. Riney was teaching at Byron Middle School when Trisha was in 6th grade. He was also a teacher during her 7th grade year as well. The reason I know this is because I had someone that went to middle school with Trisha who wishes to remain anonymous that reached out to me, and they had copies of her middle school yearbooks, and they sent me pictures. This is the yearbook from her 6th grade year. Here you can see Trisha pictured, and you can also see Charlie Riney was a teacher during this time, which matches up with the obituary that comes up online. Like I said, I'm not going to show his picture to maintain the little privacy that he has left, but this should be enough confirmation because there is no other teachers with this last name Riney that was teaching while Trisha was at Byron Middle School. Now moving on from that, this is a summary of Mr. Riney's life. He taught at a ton of different schools, including both Byron Middle School, Byron High School, which is where Trisha grew up. But as you can see here, there are several other schools listed because this man was a teacher for 47 years. He didn't stop teaching because he got arrested. He stopped teaching because he retired. This man is also a Vietnam War vet that was honored with a Bronze Star, which is a high honor. If you don't know what a Bronze Star symbolizes in the Army, here is a short summary of what it means. It is the 4th highest ranking award a service member can receive for a heroic deed performed in an armed conflict. For those who receive a Bronze Star medal, it is a signal of their sacrifice, bravery, and honor while serving their country. The other thing I want you guys to focus on is the awards that this man has gotten as a teacher and a coach. His obituary reads as, some of Mr. Riney's awards and recognition include 7 varsity letters in basketball and track with Loraz College, 5 times being included in the Who's Who of American Teachers, twice being honored by the Western Illinois University as a highly motivational teacher, and placement in Newman's Athletic Hall of Fame. This man had a wife, kids, and grandchildren. Mr. Riney had a great impact on a lot of people, and I want to show you guys the kind of impact that he had on these people. And I want to tell you guys right now, the comments that I'm getting ready to read are only a small portion. There is hundreds of comments that I found online, not only on his obituary, but on a posting that I found when his health was declining. And all of the comments were so positive and uplifting. You can tell that this man has touched a lot of people's lives in a positive way. Prayers to Mr. Riney, one of the greatest teachers I've ever had. Multiple times throughout my senior year, after having a good basketball game, Mr. Riney would write me a card explaining how proud he was of me and how great I was doing. He'd keep them in the principal's office, and during his class, they would call me down and give it to me so that I could come back to his class just happy and grateful for someone to notice my achievements. Amazing teacher and an even more amazing human. He will be missed. Prayers your way. Please tell him that his book was amazing. I loved reading about his life and the famous people that he has met. played against, and fought while he was in service. You have made a huge impact on many lives. Mr. Riney, you were one of my favorite teachers. I learned so much from you, and your impact lasts still today as I continue to love learning. Prayers for you. And here are several more if you want to pause to read, but like I said, this is only a small portion of the nice things that were said about this man. There are hundreds of comments about Mr. Riney. And the last thing I want to show you guys before we move on to the next thing is a comment thread that I found on the TikTok that Trisha originally posted, and somebody replied with Mr. Riney, Charlie Riney, the high school teacher, and then one of his students replied with, no, he was one of my high school teachers, a great man, Vietnam War vet with a Bronze Star, all around lovely teacher person. And then the other person replied with, I can't find any charges at all. He was last teaching in 2016, got ill, and died in 2019. She should not say he was arrested. And then the other person replied back with, my class threw him a retirement party. I cried when he passed. He was beloved at our school. I never heard a bad word about him. So confusing to me. This man was so well respected by so many people. So for Trisha to make such horrible accusations at such a well respected man in the Byron, Illinois area, it just makes me so sick to my stomach. There is no way this man was doing what she claimed. He would have been caught. And a man like Mr. Riney would have shocked this town. And you better believe it would have been all over the news, and articles would be posted everywhere about this because it would have been a shocking story. Now, one thing that's really interesting, since I came out with episode 1 on this series, Trisha has been talking a lot about her childhood. In fact, I did a live stream specifically talking about Mr. Riney, and a few days after that, Trisha uploaded a podcast episode talking about Mr. Riney as well. And once again, she changed details of the story. Check it out.
But with the teacher who abused me when I was in the 6th grade, he ended up going to prison for CP on his computer and ended up dying. And so you're just kind of like, okay, well, he did get his. But at the time when I had turned him in or talked about it, I was told, like, I had to literally like switch classes because I was told that like I lie. And even thinking about that, like I'm like trying to think as like a child, and I think through this, I'm like, was I a compulsive liar, or do people just not believe stories that to me seemed extreme? They did, like looking back, seem extreme, but the more I hear from other people, I'm like, no, this is actually kind of common.
Once again, she claims he was arrested for CP at school. Again, Mr. Riney has a clean record. Nothing like this has ever happened. And again, a change in the story. She spoke up, but was called a liar by the principal. Now, switching classes lines up with the very first TikTok she posted, but that time she said it was reported by the students. None of it makes any sense, you guys. But let's take this a step further, okay? Trisha claims that 3 separate incidents happened with 3 separate teachers when she was in Byron. According to the TikTok that she posted back in March, she specifically said in that TikTok that it happened in the school she grew up in. Let me give you some background information on the town of Byron, Illinois. I looked up the crime rate of Byron, Illinois, and Byron is one of the safest towns to live in. In fact, Byron has an A+ crime rate and is safer than 78% of the cities in the USA, which means it's a pretty fucking safe town. In Byron, you have a 1 in 1,196 chance of becoming a victim of a violent crime. So statistically, I can see something like this happening one time to someone in a town like Byron, but 3 separate times by 3 different teachers to the same victim, it just seems impossible to me, especially because there is no trace of any essay by a teacher in the town of Byron. When stuff like this happens in a town like Byron, Illinois, the media would be all over it. Just to compare things, I live in a town that also has an A+ crime rate, but Byron is ranked 4% higher than my town when I looked it up to compare. This is just something you guys are going to have to trust me on. If you want to believe me, you can. If you don't, I totally understand, because I'm not going to put where I live on the screen. But if you call the cops on the smallest thing in my town, they send the whole police force, because that's how bored the cops are in my town, because there's very little crime. And it is very rare if a hardcore crime happens in my town. Like I said before, I could believe one time this happening to Trisha, because in my school growing up, there was a teacher sleeping with a student. This happened around 1998 in my town, and before it got back to the principal, there were rumors that went on for months that this teacher was hooking up with the student. Well, the guy that was sleeping with this teacher, one of his friends ended up telling the principal, and once the principal found out about that teacher, she was put on suspension detention while the school investigated it, and it didn't take long after that the police got involved and she was put in jail. We were all over the news, you guys. It was everywhere because it was shocking. And ever since that one incident in my town has happened, there hasn't been another one since. And that has been 20 plus years, you guys. So when you compare it to a town like Byron, Illinois, I just don't see how it's possible because Byron is safer. So statistically, it just doesn't make any sense with what Trisha is saying at all. Look, there's too many things that don't make sense with this situation. I understand the mentality of the internet is to believe all victims, but sometimes people lie about this sort of thing. And that is one reason why it's so hard for victims to come forward and to be believed. On one hand, we got this well-respected teacher that was a war vet that earned a Bronze Star, that earned multiple teaching awards, and has an entire community of people that have nothing but the nicest things to say about him as a teacher. And then on the other hand, we have Trisha Paytas, a person that is known for lying, a person that lied about their childhood, saying that they were never bullied in school, and that it was actually that they were being overly sexualized by teachers in school, and that was the main problem growing up. The thing about it is, you can be bullied and still go through trauma. So why would Trisha lie about the bullying if she was being honest about all of this? And they have stated multiple times in the past that nothing illegal ever happened with any teachers growing up at their school. They have lied about so much, you guys, and I could list everything, and we could be here all day. But at what cost are we going to keep believing everything that comes out of her mouth? A teacher that can't defend himself, a teacher that was well loved, a teacher that was never arrested, that had a perfect reputation in the community. What about the victims of Trisha Paytas? When are we going to start taking them more seriously? Also, if you're a fan of Trisha, making excuse after excuse after excuse for her, it's not helping her. I believe this person needs serious help. And the more people feed into their lies and delusions, the more dangerous she is going to get. And there will be a lot more people that are going to be hurt in the process. But we're not done yet with this situation. I want to show you guys everything I got because I'm going to cover every single aspect of this and show you everything. Before I get into all the clips, I know some people are going to be like, wow, you're really picking apart Trisha's stories. I completely understand where you're coming from, and I normally would not do this, but this is a unique situation. We have a teacher whose outstanding reputation has been severely damaged because Trisha blasted his name to millions of people, and we also have schools' reputations that have been completely smeared online, and I'm sorry, none of the recent stories from Trisha make any sense with each other, and I'm going to show you guys the many contradictions because this isn't right. Also, just to remind everyone again, Trisha has said multiple times in the past that nothing illegal ever happened with their teachers. So please also keep that in mind. If you have made it this far, just please watch everything together and look at this segment with an open mind. So in this TikTok we watched earlier, Trisha specifically states that there were 3 separate incidents with 3 separate teachers at their school growing up. Trisha specifically says it happened in the school. I am going to play this part one more time because it's so specific. So just listen to what she has to say.
I was silenced for so long at my school growing up. I had 3 different incidences with 3 different teachers in regards to SA, R word, and M word. It happened in the school.
So keep both of those things in the back of your mind, that it was 3 teachers and it happened in the school that Trisha grew up in, which would be Byron. Also recently on August 17th on Trisha's new podcast, they also confirmed once again that it was 3 separate teachers. Check it out.
I don't remember high school really. I remember the important events. Okay, we switched high schools. I switched 4 times. I went to California. I went to private school. I switched a lot in high school. No pun intended. I remember, events. I remember sleeping with teachers. Okay, on this note, let me clarify this because a lot of people are like, wow. Again, this is that the disbelief, the compulsive liar. People just can't believe, wow, 3 different teachers had sex with you. It's like, yeah. As difficult as it may be for some people to believe, and in my head, it's not difficult at all. Like I think to me, I thought it was normal. I saw it in movies. I was like, yeah, I will do this too.
So as we go through the different clips, count the different stories. We already know one of the 3 teachers is Mr. Riney, so that leaves 2 teachers that we don't know the names of. Recently, Trisha uploaded a TikTok on August 16th where they specifically said that they talked about their story on Keemstar's podcast, Mom's Basement, of an incident that happened when they were only 6 years old. In this TikTok, Trisha specifically says that she has never told anyone of this story until the podcast. Check it out.
This is why people shouldn't talk until they hear the podcast, because they sound absolutely stupid. I went on and shared my own R-word story that I've never shared with anyone else to drive a point across about it. I was super vulnerable. I was super embarrassed. Once it's out there, I'm going to be judged. I'm going to be judged forever for not saying something sooner, for not talking about it sooner, for doing it, for participating in it, for liking it. I shared my own story of SA&R, which I have never shared with anyone else, and it was super hard because that's not a setting that I was super comfortable in necessarily.
Okay, so it sounds like she's never told her parents about this. She's never told the public about this. She's never told anybody about this story, okay? So now let's listen to the story that she told on Mom's Basement. Check it out.
Yeah, but I don't think you know you're a victim. Like my teacher was having sex with me when I was 6 years old, and I didn't think anything was wrong with it. And up until like, I still don't think, like sometimes I like
6 or 16.
6.
Oh, that's awful.
And so I didn't know. Yeah, but like for me, I was like, oh, it was like attention from like an older guy. Like I thought it was kind of cool. And then you realize like, oh, that's like some fucked up shit. But like, if you would have asked me like as a teenager, I was like, no, super cool. Like actually like, I didn't know it was sex at the time, right? You didn't know it was sex at the time. But then I was just like, oh no, that was like, I liked it, whatever. And it's like, but a lesser version of that is when I was in David's vlogs.
First off, yes, that is the full story. I listened to the whole podcast and that was the only time they brought up the story. Secondly, a lot of the stories that Trisha has told usually is brought up when they're talking about David Dobrik. Most of the clips that we're getting ready to watch is when the David story was popping online. Lastly, Trisha saying she has never talked about this story before is really fucking confusing to me because either there were multiple assaults when they were 6 or they have a really bad memory, because Trisha has brought up the 6-year-old story online a lot. But here's the thing about it. The story changes every time it's told. Now I'm going to play a bunch of clips for you guys about this story. I'm trying to play them in an order that is not confusing to you guys because it does get really confusing since the story does change a lot. So on February 16th, 2021, Trisha brought up the story during a rant about AB and the H3 podcast when the David Dobrik stuff was just starting. This was right after AB defended the Vlog Squad, and Trisha brings up this 6-year-old story to prove a point that her whole life nobody has believed her. Check it out.
So from a very young age, people not believing me, people telling me from a young age, from 6 years old, someone saying that I provoked a sexual situation at 6 years old, and people believing that. Well, she did this. She said she liked this movie, so this is why I did this. And people are like, oh, well, okay, that makes sense. Well, Trish at 6 years old, she watched Taxi Driver and described this explicit scene to me between a 13-year-old hooker and a grown man. So, like, that's why it happened. And a judge being like, yeah, actually, that makes sense. You're right. So, okay, Trish, did you say that? Yeah, I did say that. Okay, so that you deserve this. Same thing as a fucking teenager. Well, she wore this, and she came into my classroom and locked the door. So, like, it's okay. Or that's why I did it. That's why I was provoked. She was a temptress. Just like the fucking David vlogs. Well, Trisha did this, and she flirted with David, and so therefore all the time she said she was uncomfortable and didn't consent and didn't want to vlog. That's okay.
So there are a few things I want to point out with this. One, Trish said they went to court over this, and the judge actually blamed a 6-year-old child in court and ruled in the favor of the teacher, which seems so unrealistic to me. I get courts rule in favor of predators all the time, but for a judge to openly say, hey, it's a 6-year-old's fault, that judge would have been fired. Secondly, Trisha claims in this video that it was the movie Taxi Driver. And side note, how is a 6-year-old watching a movie like Taxi Driver? That just doesn't make any sense to me. That movie's a pretty bad movie for a 6-year-old to be watching. Then on February 13th, Trisha brings this up again. She doesn't state the age she was, but she does confirm that it was Taxi Driver. And then she names another incident with a separate teacher that was when Trisha was older, and says that a Jerry Lee Lewis movie was the reason for Trisha getting assaulted by a separate teacher. Check it out.
It stems from me being a little girl and having, sexual assault at my school and stuff like that. and being told from a young age, like, I'm like, oh, well, she wanted it and she did this and she dresses this way and she talks about this. I remember my teacher put blame on me because I talked about how much I loved the movie Taxi Driver, which was about, Jodie Foster being 13 and like seducing Robert De Niro and Harvey Keitel and stuff. And like, I talked about that movie so much. And I idolized and idealized. I remember opening up to this, a separate teacher that I had an incident with about the Jerry Lee Lewis movie. And Winona Ryder was 13 years old, she was playing a 13-year-old having sex with her 21-year-old cousin. I said, I hope that like I was 12 at the time and I was like, I hope when I'm 13, I hope I can have sex with somebody and stuff like that. And then, so when they got confronted about it, their argument was like, well, she said she like wanted to like experience sex before she was 13, and then it was totally on me. And it's like, so I have that in my head that everything's totally on me. The best is, oh my God, you're so obsessed with them, like just get over them. And like, just like the trauma I experienced from ages 6 to 12, I still check up on that guy that assaulted me, and I always will follow what he does because it's just like this, I don't know how to describe it. It's this grasp these people have on me.
So this is where things start getting really confusing. So they claim at age 12, a separate teacher assaulted her for another movie that they claimed that they liked. But I thought the incident at 12 years old was the teacher that did things during Heads Up 7-Up. And what are the odds that two separate teachers would do something to somebody because they said they liked a certain movie? And then she contradicts herself and says that she still checks up on the guy that did things to her from the ages of 6 to 12, acting like it was only one teacher. But I thought the taxi driver incident you went to court for. Even if they let the teacher go, wouldn't your mom make sure you were never around that teacher again? Like, so much of this is so confusing. So the other thing about this whole thing is that Trisha specifically said the movie was Taxi Driver, but on March 2nd in a Frenemies episode, Trisha completely contradicts herself and she says that the movie is actually Cape Fear, not Taxi Driver. Check it out.
Second time that happened, it was a teacher and another teacher, a different teacher, and he's like, well, she told me she liked the movie Taxi Driver, so like, or Cape Fear, Cape Fear. He's like, so I just put my thumb in her mouth to suck it. Anyways, it's a lot, but.
And that's not all. On February 11th, she uploaded a video talking about this again, and she claimed that she didn't speak up for 15 years about the incident when she was 6 years old, even though she has previously stated that the incident happened and she went to court for it when she was 6 years old.
And you go through it, let's say you endure it for years. I didn't say anything until 15 years after I was molested as like a 6-year-old. Does that mean that like, well, she didn't talk about it for 15 years, so it didn't happen. She didn't speak up, so obviously it wasn't that big of a deal. Fuck you, AB.
And then going back to the original TikTok of her saying Keemstar's podcast is the first time they spoke to anyone about this incident. She made it sound like she hasn't talked to her therapist or her parents about it. But on March 4th, she claims that for years, she told therapists and her parents that she was fine.
I was molested at 6 years old by a teacher for years. And I told my therapist for years that I was okay with it, even at the age of 12. Having sex with a teacher. And I was like, but I thought it was cool. I thought I was fine with it. So that makes it okay? I said I was okay so many times to my parents, my family, to even my therapist. And I was like, it was fine. Actually, I liked it. I was cool. I was the teacher's favorite. I liked older men. I was attracted. I wanted it. It was very Cape Fear, and like in my head, I really did think I wanted it at the time. But like looking back, I was like, oh my God, that like fucked me up.
All right, you guys, I got a couple more to show you and then we'll be done. On Dr. Drew's live stream, Trisha talks about this incident again when she was only 6 years old, but only this time she claims that it was at a summer camp that her dad put her in, not at her school in Byron. Check it out.
What can you talk about what happened in childhood that was so murky?
There was a lot of like, there was a lot of stuff with like older guys that like I thought was like normal, and I still try and process it, like, with like the touching of my boobs or talking about my boobs, like hugging from behind and like stuff like this, like, but was it okay? Obviously now I know it's not.
How old were you and how old were the guys?
The first memory I have was a summer camp when I was like 6 years old, and I remember like
6
years
old.
I'm gonna like, yeah, and that was like, this is something that like I it's a lot because I remember it like, again, I remember it, but then it's like, I don't remember like leading up to it because this was like a summer camp, and, I just remember like all the details, but I don't remember, going to my therapist, like, is it penetration? Is it just, outside stuff? Like, it's all so foggy to me. Like that part doesn't feel, and I don't know. It's just, there's a lot that I've never talked about, even to like my therapist. And it's like, I'm finally talking about it, but it's so hard because I I don't remember so much of it. And I don't know.
Now, going back to the wrestling video, Trisha specifically said the only way the essay stopped as a kid was that they gained weight. And in the clip, Trisha specifically says that she went to her dad's for the summer and came back, and her abuser said that she had gained too much weight. And this was at the age of 10. Check it out.
Like the only way the motivation stopped when I was a kid was when I started gaining weight. And I remember I went away for the summer with my dad, and I came back to school, and that same person, my abuser, was like, you got too fat. And I was 10.
So based on this clip with the Dr. Drew episode, that would mean Trisha was getting abused in Byron and when she would go visit her dad when she had to go to summer camp. And just a side note, Trisha never mentioned a summer camp in her book. You would think if her dad was sending her to camp every summer, like she said in the Dr. Drew live, that it would have been mentioned in her book. Her father had his kids with him, not shipped off to summer camp, and that's according to Trisha's book. Also, one other thing she mentioned in this wrestling video was she claimed that her neighbors were also essaying her. Check it out.
I've been sexualized from 6 years old. From 6. From being called out for being a distraction by teachers to being molested by my neighbors, by people in power, people in authority.
Okay, so let's summarize all this. First, the teachers. According to Trisha, there were 3 teachers and all incidents happened at their school. 1 is the Riney allegations. 2 is the 6-year-old story with the movie reference. And I'm assuming possibly there was another 6-year-old incident since she said that she never talked about it when she went on mom's basement. So maybe there was another one in there somewhere. So I guess we will say that one is number 3. Then Trisha also stated there was another teacher at the age of 12 or 13 that also did something to her because of a different movie that wasn't Taxi Driver or Cape Fear. Or that could be another version of the Riney story, who knows, but I'm going to call that number 4 since it seems like a totally different story. Then also according to Trisha, they also got assaulted at the age of 6 in a camp in California, and they were also assaulted by their neighbors at an unknown age. So let's just say all of this is true, okay? Then why on Frenemies did they say in 2005 that was the worst year of their life? They were around the age of 17 in 2005. The other thing is, why did they say their teachers were coming to their house when they originally said it all happened at the school? Here is the clip I'm talking about for context. Check it out.
Pretty sure I was getting an R word by my teachers, and the principal didn't believe me, and I had to endure it every
gotta
single
love
day.
what a dumbass he is. He's like, you were bullied, you piece of shit. You had it coming.
I had to move school 4 times because teachers were being inappropriate, so thank you for that. And also just like
Well, the only
myself in 2005. That's why my band is 2005, because it was the most trauma of my life, because teachers wouldn't leave me alone and they come to my house and just R-word me.
That's one clip that accidentally got cut out of episode 1. Trisha specifically says they moved schools 4 times because of teachers essaying them, and Trisha moved schools in high school. So there is another discrepancy, and Trisha specifically said in her older YouTube videos, if you watched episode 1, that they switched 4 high schools because of bullying. So you guys, point blank period, none of these stories add up with each other. Each story has changed every time they spoke on it. They have specifically stated in the past that nothing ever happened with their teachers. Nothing illegal ever happened with them. And they are accusing people of being a P word that have no record of any inappropriate conduct. Also, don't you guys find it odd that the only teacher that Trisha called out by name is dead and can't defend himself? Why not call out the other teachers? It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. This is pretty much all of the clips that I could find of Trisha talking about these different incidents. So use your own judgment on each story. Like I said before, maybe one story is true, but I find it impossible for this much stuff to happen to the same victim from multiple different abusers, especially because the area they lived in was so safe. And where was Trisha's mom during all of this time and everything else? It just doesn't make any sense to me. It sucks I had to do it this way, but the Riney story has been eating me alive for so long. In my gut, I feel he is innocent, and in trying to prove his innocence, it was very important to show you all of the contradictions. I am sure I'm going to have people calling me different names like they are already on Reddit, and that is something I'm just going to have to accept. Even with all this evidence, there are people that are still going to believe Trisha, and just know if you keep making excuses for her, you're not helping her at all. I want to play one more clip before I go. Maybe Trisha truly doesn't know what reality is. Maybe this is something that she truly can't help. Check out this clip and you'll see what I'm talking about.
I did it for my own self. I'm someone who suffers from delusions and not knowing what reality is. And I wanted to hear back everything because people constantly tell me what I say, and I want to hear it back for myself.
If Trisha truly suffers from delusions and not knowing what reality is, then how can we trust any of these stories are even true? I personally believe Trish knows what she is lying about, but maybe I'm wrong. And this could be a reason for her telling these stories. Like I said before, what about the victims of Trisha? When are we going to start taking them more seriously? I still believe Trisha is a victim. I will never deny the trauma that I feel is real, and the trauma that I feel has affected her is her mom's boyfriend, Tiger. Trisha, if you are watching this video, it's not too late to tell the truth. More people will respect you for coming clean and telling the truth versus if you keep dragging this teacher's name through the mud. Trisha, I think you need serious help with the lies that you tell the public. I really hope that you get the help that you need and work through whatever it is you need to in order to be more honest and not lie. I hope you start making real amends with the people that you have hurt, and I'm not just talking about what I spoke on in this video. I hope you make amends with everybody that you have hurt with the lies that you have told. So anyways, you guys, that's the end of today's video. I know this was a really long one. If you made it through, that's absolutely amazing. And before I go, I want to take a quick second to thank all my members, and I apologize if I pronounce any of your names wrong. Thank you to Sarah, Lydia, Obscura, Sixty Girl, Anna Fox, Azaria, Life, Alabama Ya, Kat Kelly, Janora's, Labyrinth, Gerline, Shelby, Eloise, Evelyn, Anna, Ashley, Amy, Eve, Queen, My Love, Floral Foam, Mimi's Art, Ruby Red Shoes, The Shower of Slime, Beyond Help, Starla, The Dark Magician, Susan, Sam, Lori, Stephanie, Leah, Liz, Diana Beth, Claire S, Smiley Mama, Bugsy B, Ginger Snap Girl. I appreciate you all so much. Thank you so much for being members of my channel. Also, a special thank you to Mimi's Art for all the channel art. Thank you so much for all your hard work on everything. Her information will be linked in the description box below. And to everyone else, thank you so much for watching this video. Information on the next episode will be posted on the community tab. I will get it out to you guys as soon as I can. It's probably going to be a few weeks before it gets posted, but if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments below, and I'll see you guys all very soon. Bye guys.